Easily the hardest challenge about this would be the fact that my client was working out of an office still in the middle of a pandemic. If you really want to attract good talent in the market, he had to adapt to remain competitive. Considering she was interviewing with other companies, I wanted my candidate to go through the process with my client as fast as possible. This became my fastest deal I've ever done. Hey, and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things recruiting. In this video, we're gonna talk about my fastest placement deal to date. But before we get started, don't forget to click the like and subscribe button as it's completely free and really helps us kickstart this channel. The job. A VP of a fast-growing startup in the HR space came to us and asked us to help them find a recruiter to spearhead, drive, and manage the recruiting initiatives and goals. They're a well-funded small team that had very aggressive hiring goals and needed an awesome 360 recruiter to join their team to help them grow ASAP. We worked with their VP before in the past and had always had a positive experience working with them, so we were really excited and happy to assist. The situation. One aspect of this engagement was that even though the client had a very small team, about 4, they prioritized and understood the importance of having a great recruiter and preferred to have one join the team early on than do what many other companies or startups do instead, which is to grow until they hit 30, 40, 50, maybe even 100 people, and then start thinking about creating an HR and recruiting team, only because they have to. Many times they cut costs. Early stage technology companies would focus on using their budgets for critical hires like engineering, product, design, marketing, and try to find lean or cost-effective methods to find talent, which makes sense. While I do get this though, this train of thought still implies that hiring and recruiting and HR professionals and overall initiatives would still be a secondary priority. Not just that though, founders and hiring managers will quickly realize that recruiting and hiring is a full-time job. And if they use all other resources out there like popular marketplace platforms or agencies like ours, they would most likely end up spending way more money long-term and not have enough time during the day and week to focus on other pressing matters than if they found an awesome recruiter to join their team from day one. Our client, the VP, got this and learned this from his own experience throughout his career so that he knew and made it clear that a recruiter will be a top 5 hire for him. Of course, as he should, he checked out all of his other options like using agencies, multiple agencies, outsource possibly to different countries, or even hire someone as a consultant to save money. But nothing made more sense financially and strategically than to find someone awesome on the team. By hiring someone on the team, he would also have someone whom he could work closely with in person and someone who would have a mutual vested interest in making sure the business and team does well. Easily the hardest challenge about this would be the fact that my client was working out of an office still in the middle of a pandemic. It wasn't the full 5 days in the week, but it was a flexible 3. While that may not sound bad or sounds pretty great to you, one of the biggest lessons learned during the pandemic for the technology industry was that on the whole, most teams and companies fared pretty well, if not better, working remotely. But there were also certain types of roles that didn't really have much of a hard time adapting to a remote lifestyle, and recruiting happened to be one of them. Aside from my personal biases and experiences where I worked remotely as a recruiter and built my own small recruiting team from the beginning, completely remote, I also cross-referenced with friends and other recruiting professionals just to make sure, and the general consensus was the same. Most recruiters loved working remote, and if they were ever open to change jobs, they would only be looking for a 100% remote job. The VP loved working in the office, and if he had it his way, he would be there 5 days a week. Like many, he loves the energy created from working closely and collaborating with great team members. Totally get it, but at the same time, if you really want to attract good talent in the market and industry where most companies were fully remote or at least hybrid, he had to adapt to remain competitive. I knew a hybrid setup would still be challenging, and because of that, we couldn't really reach out to anyone too far from New York. But at the same time, I knew that there would be enough recruiters in New York City, so to find someone who could be a little open-minded to come into the office in a hybrid manner hopefully wasn't going to be impossible. I appreciate the VP being flexible to a hybrid option, and now it was really up to me and my team to go out there, sell the opportunity, and find someone excited about joining their team. Process. The process of the outreach was relatively easy and straightforward. Considering our client was a technology-focused company in the HR space, we researched and identified competitors and compiled a target list of relevant companies to reach out to. We also further filtered out and focused on recruiters that also have done a good amount of technical recruiting as well, like software engineering, data, and product professionals, as those would be the initial key hires that the recruiter will be responsible for if they join my client. They of course also had to do a fair amount of corporate and non-technical recruiting and have a track record of working and managing open positions in volume, as our client was looking to grow really quickly. So the perfect recruiter had to have all of these criteria checked off. The first several candidates we did reach out to were great on paper, but they all said no to a hybrid setup. This continued a couple more times. We ended up finding more and more great recruiters who weren't interested in going to the office. We targeted more companies, followed up with previous candidates, and did more outreach until we got a response from an awesome recruiter who looked promising and immediately scheduled the first call with her on June 29th around 10 o'clock in the morning, which was a Tuesday. After talking to her, she was perfect, had a great personality, strong communication skills, and genuine interest in my client. She also had great technical and non-technical recruiting skills, an amazing track record of filling tons of open positions in a short amount of time, and just overall loved building new recruiting systems and infrastructure. But most importantly, she actually wanted to go into the office. In terms of compensation, her ideal salary was between $110,000 and $120,000, which was also affordable and very aligned with the New York City market with her experience, and was something our client could do. After our first chat, I was so excited about her that I pinged my client ASAP and got him to talk to her later that day, as I had a strong feeling my client was gonna love her. My candidate and my client got on their first round call around 3 p.m. several hours later, and afterward I got pinged from both of them that it went really well. I got on another call with my candidate shortly after to go over the interview and found out that she also had started interviewing a couple other companies as well, but all of them were fairly early stages and moving pretty slowly, which was great for us and our client. She also reiterated that the job with our client was the most exciting and interesting as well. Considering she was interviewing with other companies, I wanted my candidate to go through the process with my client as fast as possible so that if my candidate reached the offer stage, we wouldn't have to go in a bidding war with other offers from competitors, and the closing process will be more smooth and dramaless. Since I knew my client really liked my candidate, I pushed him to bring her on site to meet in person and give her the chance to see the office and meet other members of the team as well. Their first call was on Tuesday, and my candidate was invited to their office on Thursday, only 2 days later. Thursday came, and my candidate, similar to the first call, absolutely crushed it. Other team members really liked her, and it again validated the feeling my client had of her from the first call. By the end of the on-site, it was getting late in the week, and my client had a couple more calls to do on Friday and over the weekend to go over a few more options with other candidates. While this wasn't exactly something that really excited me, as I really want him to hire my candidate right away, I kept patient and told my candidate that we would hear back from my client sometime next week. From his perspective, I get it. He managed through us to find a candidate that he loved in a relatively short amount of time, and he was just going through the motion of making sure he did his due diligence with other options. Next week rolled around. Monday, heard nothing from my client. Tuesday morning came around, also heard nothing from my client. I called my candidate to check in and reconfirm her excitement for the role and how her other interviews are going. They were still going slowly. Thank God. I told her that I got very positive feedback about her on Thursday after the interview, and we're just in a holding pattern waiting for the VP. She did share that while she was still super excited, because she started interviewing from other companies, and the fact that this role with my client was much more than just a simple recruiting role in scope. For example, since she would be the first recruiter on the team, she would also have to help build the actual recruiting foundation and playbook. She asked if she can ask for a higher salary closer to $130,000 instead. I knew that was pretty close to the top of the range for my client, but I also knew from historical experience that the VP could stretch a little bit for the right person. So I told her I didn't think it'd be too much of an issue. Asking for more salary later in the interview process could seem strange to you, but it actually happens a lot. Interviewing at companies is also a great way for you to collect data on how much you are worth via the market. And if you find out other companies are willing to pay you more, why settle for less? It was a combination of this plus the mindset that she was going to have to create the entire recruiting infrastructure, and to me, it made sense overall. I finally heard back from the VP on Tuesday evening that he decided that he really wanted to move forward to a verbal and reconfirm with me on what she was looking for in terms of salary, her tentative start date, and any other outstanding or obvious concerns or red flags that we had to go over. I shared with him her larger salary ask, and thank God it didn't end up being an issue. He asked me to set up a call with her on Wednesday where he could extend a verbal offer. I reached back out to my candidate and got the call set up and confirmed. After the offer was extended, the only real concerns or obstacles were actually pretty trivial. The candidate was hoping if she could get the title of a lead recruiter over a senior recruiter, and if she could get more clarification on the benefits. The VP shared this with her and sent her the official offer letter to view. The candidate thought about it all day Wednesday, and on Thursday emailed me and the VP that she officially accepts and sent back the official letter signed. Lessons learned. This was an amazing experience, as this became my fastest deal I've ever done. This was only possible by really understanding what my client wanted, so that when we did come across the perfect candidate, we were really able to push her to the end as fast as possible, beating out all the other competing companies so that at the end of the day, my client wasn't rushed to make a decision or concerned about other offers. And my candidate ended up having a nice, fast, and smooth experience from start to finish and ample time to only focus on this one offer. By staying abreast of the candidate's interview process, we were able to leverage the excitement my client had for her to get her an offer in record time. It also really helped that both my client and candidate are super responsive people, which made our life so much easier when it comes to coordinating. Recruiting for good talent is a speed game. Good talent is reached out to all the time, but other companies and recruiters. So if companies really wanted to compete, not only would they have to come out with a strong offer, but they would have to move quickly. I can't tell you how many offers or candidates that we lost to other interviews when the interview processes are just too long, or if the internal team at the company goes way too slow. If you aren't going to try hard enough to hire for your team, other people will and will take a star candidate away from you. Recruiters like us are there to work closely with both candidates and clients to make an optimal scenario happen as soon as possible. And for companies that are scaling aggressively, there are honestly no better partners and resources than good recruiters who know what they're doing. Results. We ended up reaching out to about 100 people, out of which 85 opened their emails, and out of those 85, 23 responded. Out of those 23, we submitted 3 people, and out of those 3, we got 1 offer that was accepted. From first outreach to offer, it was 9 days. With a salary of $130,000 and our placement fee percentage of 20%, our placement commission came out to $26,000. All in all, this engagement was super fun. At the end of the day, all recruiters do the same thing more or less, and it was such a pleasure to work with an amazing recruiting professional and took her through a ridiculously fast and smooth process. Happy and proud of my client for entrusting us with this search, and proud and excited to see all the great work our candidates will end up doing with him. Great news here is that I'll be working with my candidate again, not as another candidate of mine, but this time as a hiring manager, as she'll be working closely with the VP to screen candidates that we're gonna send them in the future. So it would be super cool to work with her in a different manner. If you like this video and want us to talk more about placement deals that we have done, please let us know and we'd be happy to make more. If you have any other questions about recruiting, startups, hiring in general, please comment below and we'll definitely get back to you. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing and click that bell. It's completely free and really means a lot. Feel free to add me at Preston_Park on Instagram and TikTok as I try my best to post daily. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.